They thought he was just the janitor. When I walked into that fancy steakhouse, nobody gave me a second look except for the hostess, who looked me up and down like I'd dragged in something from the alley. My trench coat was wrinkled boots, scuffed hair pulled back with a drugstore clip. Not exactly the look of a woman who owns half the skyline outside their windows. She forced a smile. "Do you have a reservation?" "No," I said, steady. "But I think your chef will want me to stay." She blinked, confused, suspicious, maybe even a little amused. Didn't matter. I wasn't there to be served. I was there to see what they served when they thought no one important was watching. She sat me at a table by the kitchen, cramped, noisy, lit, like a refrigerator. I didn't complain. Just asked for the steak medium rare and a glass of Bordeaux. Specifically the 2015 Wild Pine Reserve, a label I had personally signed off on 3 years ago. One of my companies owns the damn vineyard. But what showed up, it wasn't 2015. Hell, it wasn't even Bordeaux. One swirl, one sip, and I knew this was fraud. Somebody had switched the inventory. But I said nothing. I was fishing. And it didn't take long for someone to bite. The janitor had been there since I walked in. Quiet. Head down. Mopping like it was an art form. But I noticed something. He never looked at me, not even once. Yet somehow, he saw everything. When the breadbasket was refreshed, I reached for a napkin. There it was, tucked inside, folded neat. Just 3 lines in block letters. "The wine you ordered was swapped. Kitchen staff isn't to blame. Check who approved shipment last Thursday." No name, no request. Just a warning. A whisper from someone who shouldn't know, but did. By 8 a.m. the next morning, I was back in my corner office, no boots, no trench coat. Just a navy suit and a 1,000-yard stare. I pulled shipping logs, contracts, signatures. The invoice was clean on paper. But the supplier listed a fake, registered to a P.O. box in Nebraska. No website, no history, just a name, South Bend Imports. And guess who approved the change? Gregory Marsh, the general manager of that restaurant. Mr. Cufflinks and Cologne himself. I returned that night. No disguise. When I stepped through the door, the hostess turned ghost pale. "Ms. Brighton, I didn't know you weren't supposed to," I said. Gregory slithered over with that snake oil smile. "What an honor, ma'am." "Where's your janitor?" I asked, cutting him off. He blinked. Trent. He's probably on break. I'll find him myself." Gregory didn't like that. Not one bit. His smile cracked just slightly, but I saw it. I found the janitor, Trent, behind the kitchen cleaning a mop handle. Not the floor, the damn handle. "I read your note," I said. He didn't stop wiping. "Wine fraud. Distribution scam." "How did you know?" He finally spoke, voice rough like an old barn door on a windy day. "I didn't. Just saw things. Didn't feel right not to say something." "You ever work in restaurants before?" He shook his head. "Architecture, fire systems, company folded, politics, and now you mop floors." He looked me straight in the eye. Dirt's honest, doesn't lie. There was something in the way he said it. Not angry, not bitter, just settled. "I've got a daughter," he added. 9 years old. She draws pictures of places where people are kind. I figured if I did one right thing, maybe it'd show up in one of her drawings. And just like that, I couldn't breathe. The next day, another napkin showed up. Blueprint. A sketch of the restaurant's emergency system annotated. Override delay tampered. Evacuation failure likely. He wasn't just watching wine labels. He was watching for fires, for lives at risk. That night, I brought in my private security guy, Greg, ex-military, no questions asked. We broke into the maintenance hall, pulled the panel. Sure enough, 22-second delay added to the emergency unlock. Enough to bottleneck an entire kitchen staff during a fire. "Someone's trying to set this place up," Greg said. "Insurance scam. Or worse." "Who else knows?" I asked. "Only the guy who found it," he said. "And now you." And just like that, I realized I wasn't undercover anymore. I was in. From that point on, I didn't go back as a CEO. I went back as her Ellie's dad's ally. We spoke in glances. Napkins became evidence. One had a list of falsified receipts. Another had supplier names traced to shell companies. And all roads led back to Gregory. He tried to fire Trent, called him into the office. I don't know what happened in that room, but I know what came out of it. A folder, quietly left on my desk the next morning. Inside, a contract signed by Gregory authorizing meat from a vendor blacklisted by the FDA. 3 guests had gotten sick that week, including me. That night I called an emergency board meeting, 6:30 a.m. The room filled with suits and skepticism. I stood at the head of the table, no slides, no coffee. This company has been bleeding, I said, not because of competition, because of rot on the inside. I held up the napkin. The original, framed in glass. This, I said, is the most honest document Calera Holdings has received in 10 years. And then I introduced Trent. He didn't say much. Didn't have to. The footage spoke for him. Audio files, blueprints, fake invoices, and one recording Gregory saying, "She won't pull the plug. She's too proud to trust a janitor." He was wrong. That day I created a new department, Infrastructure, Integrity, and Ethics. Trent would lead it. And then I stepped down. Not from the company, from the illusion. I said I will not be CEO of a company that ignores children, punishes truth, and rewards the loudest voice in the room. Ellie was there. Her drawing hung behind us. A woman, a janitor, and a girl holding both their hands. Weeks passed. Napkins stopped coming. But the work didn't. Safer systems, real audits, cleaner floors, not because of bleach, because we finally knew what we stood on. One day I visited Trent's new office. Still smelled like lemon cleaner and truth. He handed me a napkin. This one said, "Clean doesn't mean spotless, it means honest." And in that moment I realized, I didn't save this company. He did. What would you have done in my place? Trusted the janitor. Ignored the note. Tell me in the comments. I want to know what you see when nobody else is looking. And if this story made you think, share it. Because somewhere someone is holding a mop and a warning. They thought he was just the janitor. When I walked into that fancy steakhouse, nobody gave me a second look except for the hostess, who looked me up and down like I'd dragged in something from the alley. My trench coat was wrinkled boots, scuffed hair pulled back with a drugstore clip. Not exactly the look of a woman who owns half the skyline outside their windows. She forced a smile. "Do you have a reservation?" "No," I said, steady. "But I think your chef will want me to stay." She blinked, confused, suspicious, maybe even a little amused. Didn't matter. I wasn't there to be served. I was there to see what they served when they thought no one important was watching. She sat me at a table by the kitchen, cramped, noisy, lit, like a refrigerator. I didn't complain. Just asked for the steak medium rare and a glass of Bordeaux. Specifically the 2015 Wild Pine Reserve, a label I had personally signed off on 3 years ago. One of my companies owns the damn vineyard. But what showed up, it wasn't 2015. Hell, it wasn't even Bordeaux. One swirl, one sip, and I knew this was fraud. Somebody had